Good night, America. How are you? This is Elliot Rosewater for the Cape Pixie Radio, the only nuclear-powered radio station on God's green earth. We're at Jim Morrison's final resting place, and we're kicking it off tonight with Alabama Song. I tell you we must. Now, as a coincidence or not, the moon comes in here. Moon of Alabama. You don't sing with this, Mick. Oh, look at that for a coincidence. Look at that moon. It is absolutely pristine. Look at that. At the Jim Morrison Museum, Coronado, California. The final resting place of Jim, and a repository of all of his great music and his art that he left for us. And I sell my books here. 3 books. I Remember Jim Morrison too, Before the Beatles Were Famous, and a book of verse. Boom, bap, boom. So this is his family. Put them in all these windows, like make it kind of like retro. There's yours truly when I'm 20 years old with Jim's sister Anna, one of the most beautiful souls on God's green earth to this day. I never get over her. I found myself years and years later projecting astrally through our houses where we lived, to the times that we enjoyed, and they were manifest before me. Well, I'm a practitioner of Rosicrucian art of astral projection since I'm 22 or something like that. And it's easy to do for me, but it was doubly easy when I just went back to the places that she and I spent so much blissful times in. I remember our first child, Dylan. She would walk around the neighborhood with him, pointing out flowers and talking to him, educating him, putting wonderful stuff in his ear about birds. And she just, from the very beginning, she was an Earth's mother. Of course, she's an Aquarius, and you know them. Anyway, there came a time when I had no choice. Oh, I did, but I didn't want the other side of it. I feel like, stop doing rock and roll and do wood, like cutting it. It was just such a, I didn't want to do it. I wanted to continue always doing rock and roll, and it cost me my family, my marriage. And I even wrote a song called Fuck Wood. I hated the word so much. We'd sing it on the job. Fuck wood, lunch truck, fuck wood. The dreary fucking slave labor that, you know, in the heat. I had some interesting jobs though in construction, but I'd much rather play right on rock and roll. Anyway, I wrote a song, a heartfelt song about Anna, and later on I'll sing it for you, but right now I'm just letting you take in the sights and the sounds of the museum. It is a very special place. Like, for example, we heat brandy wine or apple brandy in this. We all take a little shot. That is me and the gang. They're called the Los Caballeros de Los Angeles. A bunch of knights who do goodly things for no other reason than to seek justice or to see goodness done or to feel good about themselves. It's a bit selfish, I must admit. So, shut up, Morrison. Go ahead, you can talk. We can both talk. So when we take our sip of this glass, we all go out together, sometimes in different directions, sometimes all on the same course, and we accomplish greatly. We never fail, because it's not about that anyway. It's about no one sees us coming anyway. We can't fail. So I wear the period piece outfits. I wear that one, 18th century British Dragoons, and this is the 17th century, 18th century Brigandine show. You've seen that on TV. Well, I promote that in Los Angeles, along with my friend Jimmy Rule, who's the owner's representative over there. And Mick, no, you're not going. Stop it. Anyway, it's at 10th and Orange in Coronado. The address is 1112 10th Street, Coronado, California. Come on, take a look. Morrison just broke on through back to this side. Yep, he broke on through. He died and was resurrected in spirit, of course, but he's living here. He's all day long, he taunts me, laughs at me, mocks me, but he's always done that. That's the kind of fellow he was in real life. He had a guffaw of a laugh. He could make you. Anyway, he just knew how to, command the room. He read the room within seconds, and if he didn't like it, he trashed it. But I miss him terribly, and I wish he was alive. But we've done the next best thing. We brought him back in this kind of, Twilight Zone psychic, remembrance of the things he left us with, for crying out loud. And even though he used a lot of Blake and Shakespeare and all the other great poets, he made it better, much better. And one night, I'll never forget this, he stopped an entire drunken rock and roll audience. They were right in the middle of one, yeah, kill, shit, fuck this. And he stopped and just started staring at them. And took him 3 minutes to realize that he wasn't singing anymore, because they were still going. And then they all started looking at him. He started looking at them. That was intense. It was this space of it was Svengali, or Rasputin. He's like, you look in my eyes, and they all started looking. And there was a quiet, and there was a silence, and nobody knew what the fuck to do. And out of nowhere, in the most beautiful, resonant voice, he said, I want to tell you about Texas radio and the big beat. It comes out of the swamp cool and slow with a backbeat hard to master. And he went into, whoa, a rock and roll audience listening to poetry? Yeah, because the way he phrased it, he put it into their terms. This wasn't iambic pentamina poetry. It wasn't rhyming poetry. It wasn't long, complicated poetry. Or it wasn't love poetry. It was rock and roll-y poets rocketry, whatever the fuck it was. He blew them out of their socks, and he had them in his hand, and they just were putty. And then he wove this tapestry around them of this never been seen before in the fucking world. That's poet. A rock and roll singer 1 second, and in the blink of an eye, he stopped them all and said, no, you're coming for a little bit of poetry. Normally, people would have said, oh, fuck it, corduroy suits and esoteric language. No, Morrison took the lyric of music and he put it into poetry. He went, I want to tell you about Texas radio. And he had that command in his voice, and people were like, fuck, that's a cop siren, a cop megaphone. Attention, stand by. Something is going to happen. He had that intensity about him. And by God, I think the audience, that night they transformed themselves there. And from then on, he would just throw in a little bit of poetry. And people were like, God, how dare you? How can you? How could you? Oh, I'm so glad you did, because it was great. And there you have it, Al Graham, for the KPXE Radio, the only nuclear-powered radio station. And we're at the last whiskey bar, and that name was invented by Jim's nephew, Dylan. And we're on the air, we're broadcasting live around the world right now on podcasts. You can get us at Apple Podcasts. It's called The Crystal Ship. I also have a nuclear radio station. It's Cape Pixie Radio, the only nuclear-powered radio station on God's green earth. And there's where we take a trip, not on the crystal ship like this, but into a different zone. Cape Pixie Radio, the only nuclear-powered radio station on God's green earth. Elliot Rosewater, pilot of the airwaves. Groovy stuff. Anyway, come and visit. You're in it, even if you're not visiting, because we're filming it and we're giving it to you. It's a radio video show. So you got radio video, nuclear radio video. Soon, I'm getting a van and we're going to put mobile nuclear radio. How about that? So wherever we go, we'll just be broadcasting from that place. And it could be any time of the day or night. Some of you folks like me, you love to get up in the middle of the night and watch the rest of in case you miss something, like me. But there's a stillness about the evening that gives you oh, look at that. Come out here. I'll come out about 3 in the morning and I'll just hang out here and watch that moon and watch the activity, because it's still activity. People come and go, get up early, go to work. It was raining in the morning, a beautiful scene. A girl rode through the rain right down the middle with a big dog with a plastic rain hood on its head. And they just both walked, and it wasn't a heavy rain. They just rode in the rain. It was fabulous. Anyway, we're running long here, and if I go too long, we won't be able to get it uploaded. And there you have it. Come and see us. I'm Al Graham for the Cape Pixie Radio, the only nuclear-powered radio station on God's green earth.